Thus, Data Topics.
Welcome to the
Datatopics podcast.
Hello and welcome to Datatopics Unplugged, your casual corner of the web where we discuss what's new in data every week. From apples to poison, everything goes. Check us out on YouTube, LinkedIn. Feel free to leave your comment or question or reach out to us and we'll try to get back to you. Today is the January 21st of 2025. My name is Murillo. I'll be hosting you today, joined by the somewhat sleepy Bart.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. And do we have a guest today, Bart?
We do.
We do have a guest. A very special guest, I would
Very
say.
special. We've been trying to get her on for more than a year.
Exactly, right? So after a year, I think we...
After 75 episodes?
Yeah, after, exactly. Just 575, you know.
Special occasion.
Exactly. So we're joined by Alex. So
Hello.
Hi, Alex.
yeah, indeed. So try to get a round of... Can you get a round of applause for yourself? Yes. There we go. Yes. Happy to have you here. How are we all doing? How are you doing, Alex?
Good. It feels weird to be on the podcast, but I'm still behind the scenes a little bit.
Alex normally is our behind the scenes super support.
Exactly. She's the one that took us to the next level.
That does all our editing.
Exactly.
That keeps us in check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we all need an Alex, you know.
That's true.
Very cool. Maybe last episode, actually, I think we were discussing a bit about Gen AI and the use of Gen AI, right? And I think, so to recap, there was a meme. Maybe actually I can put the meme up. But do you remember what it was, Bart? Want to put this up?
I think so. Yeah. Something about art, right?
Yes. That's all you remember?
That we should leave art to people and that we should put AI to better use. Something like that, right?
Yes. So.
Oh no, it was something with robots. It's not better use. They wanted AI to do our laundry. Yeah, that was the thing.
Basically, the issue with AI was that it wanted AI to do the laundry. The problem with AI is I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so I can do my laundry and dishes. So maybe to start today's episode to revisit a bit the discussion.
Yeah, I think I made a statement.
Yes.
That Alex wholeheartedly disagreed with.
No.
So much that she wanted to come on the pod.
She said like, this enough is enough.
My moment.
Yeah, this is it. What was your statement, Mark?
I think it was something along the lines of that I didn't agree with the meme in a sense that AI doesn't stop you from making any art.
Exactly. Right. Just because AI can do art doesn't mean you cannot do art.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the same way that if you do art doesn't mean that I cannot do art.
Yeah, maybe with the nuance that maybe in a professional setting, you will be somewhat forced to pick up these tools to be as efficient as your colleagues, but in a personal setting, like you're not obliged to use anything, right?
Yeah. I think also there's also a good distinction there. You said it as a tool.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not going to necessarily replace the people, but it will speed things up. You will get a first version, but I still expect there to be some manual editing.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Alex?
So 2 points there. The first is that I agree it's a tool. So I use it as sort of like the starting, so my base. So for example, with video editing, it can do the rough cuts. I mean, I haven't used one that works well, but eventually I think it's going to work pretty well.
It takes a strong AI to edit Murillo.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. As I said, I know I was thinking like, thank you. Yeah.
So I use it as a base. I also use it, for example, with ChatGPT to kind of get some ideas, like to brainstorm. I think it works really well. But the problem for me, I think, is that if we, for example, with Suno, it's gonna generate a lot of music, and I don't think it's yet the best quality music. I mean, it's just like it sounds usually the same.
Mm-hmm.
But once that gets better, of course, people are going to be using it, and also with social media, content creators, everything like that, you're going to have a lot more AI generated content, and I think it's just going to saturate everything even more. I mean, it's already very saturated for artists, for singers. So that was more my point, that I think it will take it away, maybe the spotlight a bit for some creators, especially if it gets better, and it will get better.
Maybe a question as well, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod, but I also feel like arts in general, so it can be music, it can be writing, it can be. I do feel like there's a bit, well, maybe not writing as much, not sure, but I think for music there is a bit of the human connection point.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like if that gets good enough that it fools people, that's fine. But I do feel like people want to connect through music, like whoever made this piece of art and was trying to express a feeling and you relate to that feeling. But if you know that it's computer generated, maybe you feel a bit cheated, like it's not a real feeling that you're relating to. You're just relating to an echo of something, a reflection, a poor reflection of something. So I'm not sure like how I don't know, that's kind of how I feel. Like even if you see a Gen AI song, I think it's entertaining, but I don't think you're gonna feel really moved by it. Even if it is something that's very profound, like on paper, let's say. I don't know if you're gonna feel very moved by it because I think there's a bit of like the struggles that the creator went through. You feel that, and I think if it's a AI, like, yeah, there's no struggles, right? It's just saying stuff.
But how do you know?
That's the thing. If you don't know, like it's like the Brazilian saying, like what the eyes can see, the heart can feel, right? So I think that's
And today, basically, like if you look at the outcome of sooner, you probably will still know it's
yeah,
AI. But like add 5 years to this.
yeah, for sure.
But I also see it, like I said, being used as a base. So maybe if you're like a producer or something, if you're just stuck on something, you need to get a new beat or something, I don't
Yeah.
know, then maybe you can use AI to just get the base and then you build off from that.
That is true. Even like even if you have still a singer, but they use AI to write the lyrics.
To write the lyrics, that's what I was
Mhm.
thinking, yeah.
Then there's no way you can tell, right? Like, but it still kind of takes a bit away that core, right? So, but yeah, I mean, there's an argument that today that kind of already happens with ghostwriters,
Mhm.
right? Like people just write stuff to people. So,
But there's also the point where, like with AI, you can kind of tell when it's written by AI. So is that going to happen with music as well? Like it's all going to sort of sound the same
yeah, that's true.
or more similar?
But won't it also a bit uplift? Because I understand like it's a very crowded market already, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to get a career
Mm-hmm.
in arts in general.
Yeah.
Because music
Before
or
AI,
visual
so-
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but isn't it also gonna at the same time gonna elevate people that are really good? Like it's gonna push out
Yeah,
people
it can
that are
automate the tasks that for some people take a long time. So let's talk about video editing. It'll make it a lot faster, so then they can focus on the creative aspect a lot more, like on the storyline or
but even I mean more like the human aspect of it. Let's take the example really what you were saying, ghostwriters.
Mhm.
Right? Like you have probably a lot of average ghostwriters that you could theoretically replace at some point.
Yes.
But maybe there are a few very good and they will become even more valuable because
Yeah.
they are able to stand apart from the rest and
But then now,
bring a real story and a creative story. And
as you say this, I'm thinking also of the story we covered as well last week. That Mark Zuckerberg wants to replace mid-level engineers with AI. Because I was also thinking, like when I brought
but
up,
to me that is a different.
but well, in the sense that I do think that sometimes for you to be a good developer, you need to be a junior developer first, like to gain good experience. And maybe to be a really good ghostwriter, you need to be a bad ghostwriter first. Like you're not just like you don't get up in the like you're not born like knowing how to do these things. And if you're saying that Gen AI is going to elevate, you just kind of create a bigger gap. And how are you going to go from level 0 to level 1 now, right? See what I'm saying or no?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying.
A different set of problems, but I get what you're saying, but I feel like in essence what's happening is that you're creating a bigger gap, right? Because the mediocre ones are gonna get nothing, and the good ones are gonna get everything. Right?
Well, yeah, that's a bit the danger, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, indeed. So
Yeah.
even then there is a good side that it enhances the human component to it, but there's a bad side because it increases the gap and maybe it's not sustainable because you need more people to get to that level, right? But if they're not hireable, then how are you gonna get there? Right. Another thing that came up after we recorded was the environmental impact of these things.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question, Alex, on that?
No,
You were
it's
mentioning
not-
a bit like should we put these?
Yeah, it was more the fact that like I think these tools are really cool, like Suno and everything. But I think it's also important to put those resources into something that's more
Yeah.
good for the planet. I think the environmental aspect is not really talked about as much. And I think it should be, because is it worth creating like a fun song, but then what's the impact of that? Like, do we have any comparisons?
I don't have it now.
Yeah.
I know some people do. Like Tim Lears, we had an episode with him.
Yeah.
You have something, Bart?
I looked at it up a little bit after we had the discussion, because you were saying a bit like, because we had the discussion on the arts-ish scene, creative scene, maybe we call it the creative scene, maybe a bit more a wholesome term for it. And I looked up a bit like what are discussed, because you were saying like, should we put all these compute resources into this? Should this be the priority, or should we focus on something that has more of an impact, right? And I did look at it a little bit, but I need to.
So while you look at that, maybe to also give a bit of, maybe not perspective, but like I think a lot of these models, the large language models, they are technically they model language, right? So the idea is that you train it once and then you can use it for a whole bunch of things. So it's almost like you pay once and then you can just use it. So if you have one model, you train one model that can help you with your writing, but can also write songs. Technically, the costs you pay, environmental cost or energy cost, most of it is in the training, which you do once.
I thought it was every time you make a request.
And that's the new models, like so GPT stands for generally pre-trained transformers. That's the what I'm describing now. And now the new OpenAI models, the O1, O3, they have way higher compute requirements when you're running these things. So in that case, every time you run something, if you're gonna say, hey, create this song, there's gonna be a bigger impact. So there's a bit of a distinction there. Did you find the numbers?
Yeah, but take this with a very big grain of salt, because there is not a lot of finite numbers on these commercial models available, right? Like not a lot of formal numbers.
Do you wanna send me? Do you have a link? Maybe you can put on the screen.
No, I don't have a link.
Oh, okay. She's just making them up.
So for I think indeed, like Marilo was saying, like there is a big difference with using a model versus training a model. With training a large model like GPT-4 or Claude 3.5, for example, where typically because there's also, when you train a model, like is it an incremental change? Like there's already a trained model and you do something on top, or do you train from scratch? And what you typically see what the hypothesis is, because again, there's not a lot of formal information. Like it's such a big architectural change from GPT 3.5 to 4 that they need to retrain from scratch. And the energy estimations, they vary wildly, to be honest. And they go from, let's say, 90,000 households, electricity for 9,000 households per year to 90,000. So that's a bit of range. Okay. So that's more or less the power consumption of a whole city for a year. Yeah. Small city for a year. But it's hard to put that into, like, what can you do with it, right? Like, what is the added value? Like, is it worth it? Because there's a lot of things that take a lot of energy, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then if you look at inference, so when you generate something, but it's hard to have, because it very much depends on what do you generate. Like, and I looked a bit, because I told you, like, with Bolt, I'm a Bolt.new. I'm making like a mini SaaS. We'll publish it in the coming weeks.
Really?
Maybe we can we
can show here live.
We can show it here. But what I will roughly use up to publishing, I will roughly use 80,000 tokens. 80 million tokens, sorry.
Okay.
80 million tokens. And again, very rough estimates. It comes a bit down to 60 kilowatt hours.
And that is,
if I'm not mistaken, roughly what my car takes for one full charge.
Okay. So, if we say, like, if you had a GPT model just for this application, it would be the energy of a city for a year, a small city, plus a full car battery.
Yeah, and of course, the energy for a full city.
But it's not just for you, right?
That's for a lot of people. But, so but if you look at just energy for a full charge, if my estimations are correct, I hope we're not going to get a lot of
hate mail
for this. Then I mean, it's worth it because, like, honestly, like to build what I'm doing now, it normally you would take months with a team. Like this team would have a much bigger carbon footprint than one charge, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But of course, like, what is the? Can you like with this approach? Can you offset the training? That is a bit the question, right? Like that is.
Yeah, indeed. But I think there's also, and I think if you go for the O1 models, then it's a different approach as well, because then there's way more.
Yeah.
Like we saw the numbers for O3, high compute, and actually I can pull these numbers. This is also from the last week's recording. O3 numbers, they for the high compute, it was a lot of money.
But that was like a lot more, right?
A lot more.
Yeah.
I remember. No.
Much higher complexity.
Indeed, much higher complexity. And then I agree that for those cases, probably.
But again, even there, like if these tasks, and we still have to see them, because it's not published, and like if these tasks normally would take, I don't know, 3 months by a person, which also has a carbon footprint, and you can do it now in 1 hour, even though it takes much more like a peak of power consumption in an hour. Like it's a question like what is the problem is, of course, like everything becomes more quote unquote efficient, and your overall consumption goes way up, right?
Yeah, because like you are gonna.
It's not a status quo. Like
Yeah.
it's just
You're just gonna keep doing it. Yeah. Maybe hold on. Let me just for numbers here. I'm gonna share again the screen. This is what I had shown a little while ago. I don't even know if it was last week, to be honest.
And I think Alex's question was also even maybe a bit more complex in the sense like, okay, you have this power consumption, but should you not focus on things that matter more?
Indeed.
Which is it's a difficult question, right?
Yeah.
What matters more?
Because then that's also hard to quantify. Because right now we're trying to quantify energy and this, but like when you quantify the value of a task. But I think it's also a bit, people need to choose the right model for the right task, right? Because like you can hear, you have the O1 mini, but like the O1 high tuned is like cost per task is over $1,000, right? So it's like, are you going to use that to write a funny 30-second song? Not sure, right? Right, so I think
maybe this will be that really emotional song that you will have
like
connection to.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But that's true, right? Like if you're an artist and you need to
We'll
like
have Marilo constantly crying when O3 is released.
$1,000, you know, that those tears, that's how much it costs. Totally worth it. Yeah, I think it's
a difficult one, huh?
It is a difficult one.
But the domain that matters more is just a very difficult discussion.
Yeah, that's also.
Yeah.
But
Wait.
like we also said last week, like if AI can really replace jobs, but help also and make everyone more efficient, and then we sort of live in this like utopian society. You had mentioned the Jetsons, right?
Yeah.
Then if that's the case, what about the energy consumption then? I mean, it's also, that's the trade-off, right?
What do you mean by the?
Like if everyone can have an easier life with AI, the energy consumption is going to go.
Yeah, because AI is more used.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. I think
I think, so I guess what I'm taking from this discussion is if the Suno and all these things, they are used with GPT models, so generally pre-trained models, that the inference cost is small, then maybe it's not as big of a deal today. But as soon as it starts using, well, and I guess like the other hypothesis I have, what I've read, that the GPT models, they kind of use almost all the data in the internet, or like it's not gonna increase more. That's the impression I have. Like they're not gonna find a new data set or new data sets that is gonna double the volume of training. Do you agree or disagree with that? Maybe first.
Meaning that in the future we have even bigger models. That's what you're saying, or?
Yeah. So what I saw in a few places that OpenAI basically uses the whole internet to train their models.
Mm-hmm.
So if you train a new model from scratch, even if it is a new architecture, you're not gonna have significantly more data now that is going to say now it's going to take twice as long, 3 times as long because of the data. Maybe the architecture changes and you need more training, whatever. But so my hypothesis is if you still have the same or comparable training costs during the pre-training phase, and then you just have inference, that is less of a problem for the songs and all these things, because also use it for a lot of different applications. But as soon as you start to use more the O1 models and the O3 models that have a high cost for inference, then maybe it makes a bit less sense to the environmental impact is considerably higher for making a funny song or something.
But also just more people using it. That was more my point.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm using it every single day. There's not a day I don't use it.
Every day she
so-
says a
Suno?
No, not Suno.
she has an opening song, like her alarm every day is like a new Suno song. You know, it's like, good morning, it's gonna be a great day.
I could hook this up to my home assistant just every morning.
Just like a new
another
song.
good morning song.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, I checked Suno for an API, but I couldn't find anything simple. No, I mean there are workarounds, but
Okay.
yeah, it could be fun. Huh? Every day, just like give me the top news stories of the day, the weather, put it in a song, wake me up with it.
Nice, yeah.
Good start of the day. Cool. Maybe related to this discussion on the GPT versus O3 models, one thing I read a little while ago. You have another thing to say about before I move on?
Yeah, maybe also related to this. I think what you would be hopeful for, but yesterday's inauguration maybe doesn't make me hopeful, is that you would also see that you see an offset of this environmental impact, that you see some regulation around this.
Yeah.
But I think based on
It doesn't look like it.
recent news, we don't see the world going in that direction now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that to me is like the biggest challenge. Like how do you balance environmental impact with societal progress?
Yeah. 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 And there's a big, I know. It's a whole, for me, it's like we can move the discussion to a whole different domain, right? Because there's also some people that I've talked to feel that in Europe is highly regulated and too highly, and that hinders progress. And then Europe may fall behind in terms of technological development, and then we're always consuming stuff from the US because they're ahead, because there's less regulation, and then how do you balance that off? But it's this and this, but yeah, it's another thing.
And that's maybe a segue to an executive order that was signed yesterday.
From maybe such as this?
Yes, this article that you have here by TechCrunch, which
Yes.
says that President Trump repeals Biden's AI executive order. So Joe Biden in 2023 created an executive order that basically instructed the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, to come with guidelines on safe AI, more or less. How should we look at, should we regulate or not, to basically have a framework for safe AI and how to move that into regulation going forward. We never got to that stage of regulation, but now it's also it's killed in action by this new executive order that basically fully revokes it.
And that's what you were
it's,
saying.
It's basically a free-for-all.
And that's what you were saying, that is kind of the US counterpart of the AI Act.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly, and what we see is that indeed, there is much less regulation on this, on AI in general, but it extends to also what is the environmental impact on this, the Green Deal is being cancelled. That's the pity of this, because I fully agree with you need to think about what is the energy consumption, is this being good to put use, and if you say it's being put to good use, even if you can make that argument, then ideally you put that in balance with how do you make sure that you not completely fuck up the environment for the generations to come.
Yeah, and I think
and that's a very difficult balance, and also something that we clearly see that on a global stage there are very differing views.
Yeah, I'm wondering how, because it almost feels like it's when you're developing and then you take some shortcuts, and then at some point it explodes in your face. That's kind of how I feel this is. It's like you want to say, I know, I wanna encourage progress, and I want to do this, and I want people to be worried about doing this. And I don't want, like, when you're developing, don't worry about the security policies and whatever, right? And then at some point it just kind of explodes in your face. That's kind of how I feel, but I guess to be seen, what's going to happen.
To be seen.
To be seen.
And maybe as a free-for-all, the other article of TechCrunch was an interesting one.
This one now.
It's about Zuckerberg. He's also caught up in an AI copyright case around Llama, having used copyrighted information. And the article is actually about, he turns to YouTube for his defense, where he says that YouTube also sometimes has pirated content, but they throw some stuff out, and you can't blame the platform for the copyrighted content, etc., etc. And with that, he's trying to make an argument that Llama also has some copyrighted content, but it is okay because YouTube also has it. But okay, it's a bit beside the point of the argument I want to make. But it in the article, it shows that they are using LibGen as a source for their data. And of course, I know very little about the details of LibGen, but LibGen used to be very easy to access, and you could download like literally any book that you were searching for, like whether it comes from, whether it be from academia, a novel, like whatever, you could download there.
Yeah.
Like super easily.
Yeah.
And it's
super legal as well, no?
Super legal. It was not, to be clear. That's also why I don't know anything about the details of it. But it's interesting that they use this as a source, because it basically that's I don't know. It's hard for me to put a percentage on it, but it is a large percentage of the books that have let's say, quote unquote, significant fan base. I think everything that has somewhat of a fan base was on LibGen.
Fan base.
Let's say an audience. Like maybe if you wrote a book in your basement and no one read it, only your mama, it was maybe not there. But from the moment you have 10, like you have 1,000 people that read it, it's going to be on LibGen.
But I would imagine it's not legal.
So that's a huge knowledge base, right?
But I imagine it's not legal to use the LibGen stuff, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's like if you say you are using it, that's already, then like it's game over for him, right?
I don't know. Let's see.
Because
not a legal expert, but
that's what I would imagine. But not sure.
But it's interesting that this was also part of their knowledge base to train LibGen.
Yeah, that's true.
To train Llama.
Yeah,
right?
to train Llama,
because it's a huge amount of text.
Yeah.
It's even aside from what is typically available on the internet.
Yeah. Indeed. And probably, well, maybe I don't know if probably, but my guess is that it's better quality as well, right? Because on the internet today, there's already a lot of Gen AI content. And I think with books, I would imagine there's more review, there's an editor, there's like, it's more curated, right? So better quality as well, I would guess.
I'm sometimes these days, even though I use it a lot, I'm still amazed about like the recall of these models when recalling certain facts about things that it's trained. Like the other day, I was asking Claude for some information on Mailgun, which is like a email sending API.
Yeah.
And it really comes up with the link to the documentation where this is explained.
Yeah. So maybe for people that maybe... I know what you're saying, I think, but I'll try to also explain for the people that are not as aware. So the idea is like we talked about the generally pre-trained, right? So the idea is that it can recall from that... from the training data, right, on the training weights, that information, and it can actually extract that. So from the training data in itself, so it actually doesn't have like the index with all the information there. It just kind of looks it up on the fly. It's really knowledge that is embedded on the training weights of the network.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And I think it's crazy, but I think it's crazy for us that we know how this works.
Yeah.
But I think for someone, it's like, yeah, of course.
Because typically, like the intuitive reasoning is, okay, it has like a knowledge database somewhere, like you would see with RAG, and it fetches this somewhere. Yeah. But here is like this information is really like somewhere. Yeah. Quote unquote imprinted in these nodes and edges and the words
indeed,
them, right?
Indeed, and in a way that whenever you're trying to predict the next characters, it will find the right characters for that. It's a bit crazy. Maybe a good segue on that. Something that does not work like this is Perplexity. Do you know Perplexity?
I know Perplexity. Yeah.
So Perplexity, for the people that do not know, I'll just share here something. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Oh, let me share this tab instead. Perplexity is kind of like a Google replacement, but it's Gen AI powered, right? So basically, you can ask like, what is the data top? And I'm sharing this the screen for people listening. Podcast. Let's see what comes up. So you have a question. It's a bit like more conversational, and then what it will do is that who's this guy? And actually, I think so. It even goes through YouTube. It has like a transcript, right? And then based on all the sources, it's like really RAG, right? So it takes all the sources and it kind of gives technically it gives an answer based on the sources. So the
summarizes the sources more or less,
indeed.
yeah.
So the likelihood of hallucination is maybe a bit less, and all these things, and then it gives a answer with the sources there, right? So that's not what you're saying. This is not on the training weights. So if you ask something that happened yesterday, it could still give an answer. Whereas if you asked like Claude,
which does not have access to the internet,
exactly, because it was not trained on the data there's no way that it's going to say.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. Maybe another side note, I really like this when I'm Googling something, when I'm searching something, I guess, that I don't know the actual keywords. So I think I was looking for like star unpacking on Python or something. And I was like, I just kind of gave an example like this, like, yeah, when I'm trying to do this and I give an example of the code, how can I do this, or why is this not working, this and that, or is there a bug on Python 3.14 or something? And actually came up with the terminology because he found probably one article. And then from that search, it was able to give me the actual sources that I needed. So it was really cool. The reason why I'm bringing this up, so Perplexity is really cool for people. I would say check it out. Perplexity is acquiring Carbon, and Carbon is a data connectivity. So I think the idea that what they want to do now, and probably where they're shifting their product, is you can plug in your data sources and basically can search in one place. So for example, we have documentation on Notion, and then Perplexity can be the one place you go to search these things. And if it's something regarding your organization, it will be able to fetch these things for you. But then you have everything unified in one place. And maybe even you can have hybrid queries, right? Some things that maybe some of the stuff is on Notion, but some of the stuff is actually on the internet, and it merges these things for you. So this is not super new. This was from end of last year, but I thought it was a very interesting possible future. The future of search, right?
True.
So, and I think they do a good job with the current platform they have.
Yeah, the current platform. I think the argument that their CEO always try to defend in interviews is that why is it more than just a wrapper around OpenAI? Because they don't have their own model, right?
Yeah.
But it's indeed like they have a very smart way of getting data sources into their context and coming up with relevant and timely questions. I think that is their value proposition today. I think it is challenging to see like the ChatGPT now also has the search options, and it will be interesting to see how they can defend their position going forward.
Indeed. One thing that I also saw, and I mean, again, sharing the search example, you even see stuff from YouTube. So I think they transcribe YouTube videos as well. So they also have this embedded. It doesn't take too long. You can also rewrite it with the different models. So like you said, even Grok 2 is here. They have all one. So yeah, you still need a pro account for this. But yeah, it's, indeed. I think the value proposition is not necessarily on the models, but indeed it's more the engineering behind it, right? Like how you can make these things efficient, how you can index things efficiently, how can you scale this service. So,
and Perplexity is also very interesting, or it's interesting to watch in the market. I think their CEO is very bullish. Like he does a lot of acquisitions, some that are relevant, some that are these like you need to make a bit more of a mental leap to see if they're relevant. Like this is data connectivity, it's easily to fit. I think 2 days ago they acquired readme.cv, I think, which is like professional profiles, and I never heard of it before the news. But it's also clear like it's just a talent acquisition. Like they're gonna decommission readme.cv, so it's really just a talent acquisition.
So you think it's more like it's just trying to push them out?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily, but to really grow their team with the smartest people. I think that is their for readme.cv. But and he does a lot of these acquisitions. And also there was some rumor. I don't know. I didn't really fact check, but there was some rumor that he was gonna do a bit on TikTok US.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
But TikTok is banned in the US now, no?
No, it came on again.
Really?
With a message to the users. Thanks to Trump, it's back on.
Oh wow! Yay!
but that would like it's you need to make a bit of a more of a mental leap. Like, why is that interesting? But there's a huge source of data, of course.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But like, it's interesting to see like they're not necessarily focus purely on the project, but also how can we make our project grow with the right ecosystem of players to acquire.
Yeah, but indeed, it's almost like you're playing chess, right? When you look at these things, it's like, okay, it's not for the products, maybe it's the people, or maybe it's the data, or maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It feels very aggressive, which, yeah, I think sometimes it works. Maybe one thing, so a bit segueing again. You mentioned the value proposition for Perplexity is not the models itself, but everything around it. So I guess it's the engineering behind it. One thing I came across, this is from 15th of January, so not that old, is the emerging role of AI data engineers. Have you ever heard of AI data engineer term?
No, but I can imagine something with it.
What would you think it is?
I would assume it is very similar to what we now see to build easy MVPs and like web applications. That you would have something like that to make data pipelines and stuff.
So it's like you have you prompt to create data pipelines to.
Well, instead of writing, for example, let's say you were writing in dbt or in Spark, and instead of writing the actual SQL or PySpark or whatever, you just prompt. I want a pipeline that takes this from my connected Shopify, and I want to have it in. I want to first load everything there, and then I want also the logic to transform it into that and that. To that you just describe it, that it also builds some tests for you. That you explicitly say, I want it to look like that. Write the test for me, and that you iteratively see, okay, I'm going to run a test. Not everything works. I'm going to re-prompt a little bit to shape it. That this will become. And I honestly think that it's a question of time. Like, this will become the new AI data engineer.
So what I was thinking when I read this, the title at first.
But I didn't read the article at all.
Yeah. We'll get to the article. But what I was thinking when I read it was a bit, not necessarily use AI to write the code, but like in the pipeline, there's a Gen AI step. For example, you have text and you want to classify this, and now you just you have a GPT step in the middle. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Right? So it's a different way of looking at it. So, and actually what he's talking here, well, he does talk about LLMs, but maybe I'll just go to, he also talks about it's a bit different from what we're saying, yeah? He says about the complexity of data, right? He also mentions that a lot of the data is not structured anymore. So text data, images and videos and audio. We also talked a bit about text data in terms of data quality, for example, right? How now if you want to assess the quality of the data and you have unstructured data, it becomes a bit more difficult. Like the traditional statistics, mean, max, standard deviation doesn't really apply. Resource intensive processing, etc., etc. So now, to the core responsibilities of AI data engineers, according to him, data preparation, pre-processing. To be honest, I think it's just data engineering, right? He says using Python, Spark, Ray,
I think what the author here is the AI data engineer. What he's describing is a data engineer specifically that builds data sets or data lakes for AI solutions.
Indeed.
I think that is the
but to
different
me,
take.
I think it's like, to me, a lot of the things that what he's describing now as an AI data engineer is what I would think of an MLOps person, kind of. You know? So, for example, enhancing AI training data sets. He says using Gen AI models to create synthetic data. I think it could be done, but I'm not sure if this is... To me, feels a bit off from a data engineering domain, right? Data quality and bias mitigation. Yes, okay. That I can kind of see as a new AI component, but I also think the data quality is already a data engineering thing. Again, data scalability and optimization. To me, this is already just plain old data engineering. And then, well, he also talks about regulatory compliance security, which I'm going to skip. Integration with AI ML frameworks. So integrate seamlessly to TensorFlow, PyTorch, Hugging Face, for example. Again, to me, this feels more of an MLOps kind of thing. I do think that the space will change for Gen AI because you're going to want to add a bit more AI stuff there, AI-powered stuff. But I'm not sure if I fully agree with his view on this. But and also in data roots, we have the AI unit and the data in cloud, right? The data engineers. So I feel like this kind of sits exactly in between, right? You just say AI data engineer, and then boom, you have a new role. So I'm not I don't fully agree with it. I do think that data engineering will change. I think even at data roots, we're also talking about how Gen AI will change in all the three units, right? So the AI, of course, but also the data engineering and the data strategy. But I think a lot of the things that he's saying here, it's like already been done by MLOps engineers or other profiles. What do you think? Do you agree with this after having seen what he's talking about?
Whether or not this is a role, or
Yeah, whether this is a new thing, first of all, and whether this is a...
to me, like this article just what it says is that when it comes to engineering AI solutions, all the preparation up to and after a model, an AI solution, is slightly different than from the moment it's a reporting solution, right?
Yeah, but
And I agree, like you can, in more traditional terms, you can spread this out over data engineering and MLOps and machine learning. I don't think, indeed, there's nothing much new. And this is completely different than what I was saying based on the title.
Indeed. But I think there's a lot of ways, and that's why I also wanted to ask you before diving in, because I feel like there's a lot of ways that the Gen AI is going to come in the engineering space in general, right? Now maybe another more timely news as well. You know Apple Intelligence, right, Bart?
I know it. I never used it, but
Well, you are eager to use it. You're like, it's gonna come to Europe
I
soon.
wanted to try it. Yeah.
Yeah. What I saw is that you're gonna have to wait a bit longer because Apple suspends Aaron Strone AI generated news alerts. Strone, that's a new word for me. Yeah.
Strong.
So for me.
Okay. So I was looking at
This is AI generated.
So basically, Apple Intelligence, they had basically something to summarize news, right? So whenever you have a notification on the top, but apparently it was hallucinating, right? And I think for news is a bit, I guess it's a bit more sensitive, right? So they decided to stop for now until it's in a better state. Have you seen anything about this, Bart? Or Alex, actually?
I haven't known.
And what do you... you haven't used this either, but you could use this, don't, for your new
But
Apple...
I can't, right? Because I'm in the EU.
yeah, that's true. But you have a new...
Yeah.
Would you use it? Like, do you know a bit what the premise is, what you could do?
Not really sure.
I think you can make Gen AI emojis.
Oh, yeah, I would use that.
maybe also plugging back into our earlier discussion, in the Apple Intelligence, the idea is that...
But also, like, sorry, but I'm interrupting. But also, like, you can refine text. Like you're writing a message, like it improves it. I think it also allows you to summarize stuff. And
I think even the summary wasn't just for news. It even summarized, like, the text messages. Like, Bart said this, Murilo said that, and Mom said this. Like, you could get, like, the pop-up notification, you would give a little summary. But it was hallucinating, so it wasn't reliable, right?
Yeah.
One thing that also Apple Intelligence, they said they would do is that they would try to run the compute on your phone first and only use the network if it needs, right? So there's data privacy and the scalability and all these things, right? So just to plug in a bit there. But yeah, it's been paused, and apparently there's even a subreddit nowadays with Apple Intelligence fails. I haven't seen this yet, so maybe this won't make it the end of the pod, but yeah, I see. Give me a heart. So I'm just showing the Reddit, the subreddit of Apple Intelligence fail. And then, give me a short heart attack. And then it's just a notification on Instagram, drunk and crashed. So I guess it's a message from someone. See, Trump pardoned Fauci. See, just hallucinating stuff. So yeah, I guess we won't be playing with it yet. It will take a bit longer until we get there. Bit surprised that it's not as polished as, because I feel like Apple products are usually known to be very
that's true.
polished, right? And they took their time also releasing something.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else? What do we have? We have time for some tech corner stuff, Bart?
One.
I'll let you pick. I think I know what you're gonna pick, but I'll let you pick in case.
Boom. Now I'm gonna pick two.
It's like I make the rules here.
I had a question for you.
Okay.
Rye.
What is this, right, Bart?
So you as a Rust aficionado,
Yeah, I feel like I need to change my titles again because I'm not sure how.
are the expectations too high now?
Yeah, no, I mean yes, but I also haven't touched in a while. Huh?
So Rye is an embedded scripting language for Rust. So have you ever heard about it?
I have not.
How would you describe it?
Rye is an embedded scripting language and evaluation engine for Rust that gives a safe and easy way to add scripting to an application. So, I have no idea, but I guess that...
So you have, for example, I'm going to make a parallel. So you have what you see in combination, I think with C++, a lot is Lua as a scripting language. They're easy bindings. And it allows you to build something, let's say a game, in the engine that is very efficient. Let's say it's C++. And then, but it's very hard for, let's say, gamers to create additions to this or create their mods by actually changing the source code of the engine. Ideally, you want to give an ability to easily allow them to script extra functionality. So then typically you have like a scripting language like Lua that easily binds with the core engine, which is much more intuitive. Like Lua is a little bit like Python in terms of intuitiveness. And Rye is apparently, I never heard about it, Rye is apparently this for Rust. And it has become looked into a little bit. 2 years ago, it was very, very slow. So there wasn't really a big uptake, but it has improved a lot in terms of speed. So now when you have like a solution like fully Rust based and you want to allow users to easily add functionality through scripting, Rye is apparently a good candidate. It's still way slower than Rust itself, but it's good enough. So for example, Glico, like the programmatic music engine, it's actually cool. GLICOL. Actually uses this so that you can write custom functions to generate music, and it uses Rye to interact with the Rust.
So to repeat what I understood of what you said, basically it's like a simpler way of writing Rust that you can just kind of interpret it. Like you don't have to compile and all these things. You just kind of run it there.
Yeah,
but it looks a lot like Rust, huh?
Well, yeah, it's embedded language for Rust.
Yeah, indeed. The only thing I see different here, okay, that's cool. I think it's also interesting to see like on Python there are also ways you can try to make it your script run faster. That it kind of goes the opposite direction. So like MyPyC or Cython, it basically from your Python code, which actually a lot of times is not technically Python code because Cython has some weird keywords which is not technically Python. It creates like a C version, compiles it, and then installs in your interpreter, right? So it's like almost the opposite. You try to compile Python code to make it faster, and then you can use it on your regular interpreter stuff. And then here's a bit the opposite, right? Like,
well, here indeed, like performance is not the focus here. The focus here is really like extensibility.
Indeed, and I guess if you have something like this, and you want to convert it to Rust, it's probably not going to be a big step, right? Like if you say, okay, this is something I want to incorporate on the core of my application, it probably is not a very, very, very large step, right? So that's cool. I like it. I also think everything should be a bit like this, right? You should have a bit of like the flexibility and the speed to put stuff in, and then if you want to make it scalable faster, then you have the other counter part, right? Oh yeah, very cool, very cool. You haven't tried this yet?
No.
Okay.
And the other thing I had listed in the tech corner was Versara.ai, which showed up on my radar somewhere. There's not a lot of information. They're still very much in stealth mode. It's Versara.ai. If you go to About, I think it's from MIT and Berkeley, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's
go to Team.
to
Team. We're on the website. It's MIT and Dartmouth. Well, at least 2 people from there.
Yeah.
And they're what they're building is basically an answer to how can I safeguard my text from being scraped by an AI scraper that will use this for content generation. How can I safely publish text without it being reused by by an AI engine without my explicit approval.
There was a LLM.txt that they wanted to do something like this, no?
Yeah, there were. I don't know the name, but I've seen this before. Yeah.
Because I remember I saw something. So, and you probably know more about this than I do. Because a lot of times in your website you can have a text file that is robots.txt, and that's for like web scraping or no, Bart? Is this?
Well, yeah. So you can have robots.txt on your domain name, and correct scrapers will look at this to see if it's allowed to scrape. But if you're it's not enforced. Like it's more.
Yeah, it's more of a convention that like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and then is this different from the So it's just like a way to.
Well, the premise is a bit, and I think the premise is not correct. Is that AI scrapers will look at raw HTML, will interpret the raw HTML, while humans will look at the rendered document. They will look at the DOM, the document object model.
Yeah.
Right. And what they're saying is we're gonna poison the raw HTML without interfering with how humans read this in the DOM.
So it's, for example, I guess it's not a very good example, but if you have a whole bunch of white text in the background for human, and it's a white background as well, the white text blends in with the background, so people don't see it. Well, I guess maybe if people select the text or something, but like the idea is to mess with what the computer see without messing with what the humans see.
Exactly. Like you can do this with colors of text, but you can also do this a bit more low level. That you say, okay, I actually have this span tag and I hide it, so it's actually completely it's not part of the DOM even, right? But it's still in the raw HTML.
Yeah, I see.
And you have a lot of these tricks, and I think they're playing a bit with using CSS statements to do this. And I understand that it can trick models because, like, they have this example. If they summarize an article, like a bit like the Bayern AI, like what comes out is completely not what the humans read. But to me, it also seems very simple to circumvent. From the moment that you know how they poison the text, it doesn't seem hard to instruct a model to ignore the poisoning.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand their premise, but I think it's a very short-lived one. Like, if there would be a lot of uptake of this specific type of poisoning, and at the same time there is a conscious effort to still read all this content, they will read the content and they will ignore the poisoning.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's also a bit of a...
Because it's a bit like if you ignore robots.txt on purpose, if you say, fuck it, I'm going to make sure that I can read everything, you're also going to read this. Huh?
Yeah, that's true. I think, but I guess from what I understand, the difference is that this is not just kind of saying... I guess this is going a bit beyond just trusting someone's goodwill.
Yeah, this is really trying to make it difficult.
Yeah, I'm really trying to make it difficult. So even if you don't want to respect me, you will have to... I'm putting some hurdles around it. And robots.txt is more like, hey, this is what I want. Please respect me. It's like it's more of a good faith.
And this probably works as long as there are like 100 websites in the world that use this.
Yeah.
If there are 100,000, they will find a way around it.
Yeah, but I also wonder if even if this is more of a research initiative, if different people are going to think more about this and they're going to have different ways to poison the data, and it's going to become more and more challenging, and like it's going to be constantly evolving. And it's almost like hacking, and like there are going to be new ways to break this, but there are going to be new ways as well to poison it, and it's going to be constantly, I don't know. Maybe a question: you write some stuff sometimes or no? Do you ever have a blog or something like this?
A mini blog I have, yeah.
Yeah. Would you be upset if LLMs use it?
Personally,
yeah,
not that much. No.
What about you, Alex?
And I'll make the maybe the parallel. Like, if you have a blog, like you want it to be indexed, right? Like you want people to read it.
But LLMs.
Well, if before the era of LLMs, you would want it to be indexed by something and that people read it.
Yeah, that I agree. That
is reality, right?
Yeah, that I agree.
And now there is this thing where LLMs read it, and theoretically they take some quote unquote knowledge from your blog. I don't think that it's like, but maybe it's also because I don't. Yeah, maybe that is also a big point. Like the blog is very small. Let's be honest. I had a bigger blog in the past, but it's very small what I have now, and I don't make like it's not part of my professional career or whatever, right? Like it's not something that I need for my living. That's maybe that changes the like if I would
It's a hobby.
If I would be a professional photographer or a writer, and this would be used by something that would compete in one way or another, that would allow others to compete with me in one way or another, I would have more of a let's say a more ethical stance on this. Like this is not okay. Like,
What if you use AI to generate these things?
to generate what
The images, for example.
on my blog? Like I'm not
So if you use AI to generate the images, and then AI uses the data you produced to train another version. You see what I'm
Not
saying?
follow.
So, for example, you use LLMs to write, for example,
yeah.
right? That is a productivity. So you want these tools to get better.
Yeah.
You have something you published, but now OpenAI is going to come and index and take you the content of your website to make better tools. Is this a problem to you? If you want better LLMs to help you write?
If I used LLMs to write this, and LLMs are using my text to improve,
Yes.
that's what you're saying.
Yes.
No, that would be a bit hypocritical, I think.
Yeah. I think so too. But I also wonder, like, if in the future it's going to be the standard, everyone's going to have. I mean,
It's gonna be a writing tool, right? Like you would have a spell checker.
but then if everyone uses this and everyone shares this sentiment that it's a bit hypocritical to not want LLMs to use your data to improve itself, and I'm saying LLMs like it's a person, and I just to be clear, if the OpenAI takes your data to create a new LLM version, if everyone uses LLMs to write, we all agree it's hypocritical, then no one's going to have a problem with.
Yeah, because you never had a large body of something out there that
Yeah,
was
that's
yours.
Right.
Like if you
think, no, just kidding. I never
no,
had
I mean, if you
anything,
would have a large body out there of pictures, or if you would be Stephen King with 200 published books, and suddenly you have someone that does not have a career in writing publishing a fantasy novel that has very much your style of writing, you would probably think, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
Right? I mean, that's something else, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You're talking from the point of view from the person that's gonna write in the style of Stephen King.
I'm thinking more
a new
like,
book, right?
but I'm also
That is-
thinking like in 20 years, everyone is using these tools.
That is probably true. Yeah.
But that's what I was saying. Is it also then going to make everything more similar? Like the writing styles are all going to be,
Maybe.
right?
And
I
what,
don't think so.
No?
I
There's
don't.
still going to be some distinction?
I think so. Yeah.
I hope that if it does get to a place that everything kind of sounds the same, then people would step further away from the tools
Exactly,
as well.
yeah.
Right? They'll be like, no, this is not. This is.
Let's hope.
I want to be original. I want to stand out. Maybe. What about you, Alex? You create content, whether it's images
And
or
ducks. She
And ducks, yeah.
painted the duck. Yeah.
That's
She
true.
painted. the
That's
duck.
true.
Well, actually, I do paint. So yeah, I what you were saying about let's say a photographer, if AI starts using the images, I would also be hesitant to then put any of my artwork out there, which I have in the past. I created a lot of oil paintings, and during COVID, I wanted to put it online, but I was kind of scared that people were going to take my painting style. Not that it's that original, but there's a style to it. Like and with Gen AI now, you can definitely make that same style with images. So I don't know. I was always hesitant to put my artwork out there.
And is it a different discussion? Is this discussion of Gen AI? Is it a different discussion than just putting something out there and people making money from your, like, I don't know, when you put something on Instagram and then I download it and I sell it as an NFT and now I make money from it? Is this a different discussion, or is it a bit the same? It's just a new wave of it, I guess. Because I feel like a lot of the things we talk about Gen AI, it's the same discussion, but now it's Gen AI. Like we say, Gen AI is going to replace people. No, it's a tool. It's just going to make you more productive. You need to love the tool. Like it's a bit, like same thing. Computer's going to replace people.
But I think that the discussion that we're having is should we uphold the copyright law or not, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because, like,
that is a
also-
fundamental one, right? Like, and today, we're I think what the global world is saying is, fuck copyright. We just take everything.
Yeah.
And while there are cases going on, like it will take probably 10 years to have a good view on what is allowed and what is not allowed. And I think that is still a fair one. Like, can you put something out there without someone stealing it? Because that's what it comes down to. If you say you're not allowed to take it and someone takes it, that's stealing.
Yeah, that's true. Very well put. Plainly put. Is there anything else that we want to bring up? I think, or is there anything else you want to say on this topic? Anything?
Maybe an optimistic quote to end with, Marilla?
Please, Bart, go for it.
No, I was looking at you. I was looking at you, or an optimistic tune to end with, Alex.
So I tried to create a song, but an error occurred, so I'm not sure.
Okay. But did you?
Is it a song about an error?
No. It's based off of this podcast episode. So
Okay.
I
Oh, wow.
put everything, but
But you cannot play anything.
no.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna edit this in.
We'll
Yeah,
add this
I'll
in.
add it after.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Then I guess that's it.
That's
Can we
it.
call it a pod?
it's a part.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Whoop whoop.
Bye.
AI takes the creative stage. Trump's new order setting a page. Zuckerberg speaks loud and clear. Data engineers hold it dear. Datatopics Unplugged the show. Keeping you in the know. Perplexity in every bite. Tune in, it's a delight.